Hey everybody, HomeSliceHenry here, and today I'm taking it to the Jungle Cup, a 1500 combat power format that has some limited typings allowed, and 2 spot bans of Gligar and Galarian Stunfisk. Now, it's been a while since we've had this format, but it has returned for the week to go Battle League. And day 1, I had really nice results with a team built around Togekiss. I think Togekiss is an amazing core breaker in this meta, being able to shut down Altaria Gastrodon cores and being an extremely strong response to FURRET'S safe swaps. For the lead, I put Water Gun Lantern, and as the closer, Guzzlord. So without further ado, let's hop into the matches, and we pick up a great lead in game number 1, leading Lantern into Shadow Scizor. Opponent safe switches into FURRET, and it's time for Togekiss to shine. FURRET is one of the most dynamic and flexible Pokemon in the entire Jungle Cup, making it ideal to be a safe swap. So, having Pokemon in the back like Togekiss and Guzzlord that just completely shut it down by resisting that Sucker Punch fast move pressure that can be so oppressive, honestly puts you at a pretty big team comp advantage anytime someone safe switches to FURRET. We trade shields, and I'm firing off Aura Sphere number 2. If they no shield, which they do, I'm going to pivot back into the Lantern, and my opponent pivots out, and their final Pokemon is revealed to be Altaria. Now, at first, this might seem like I'm in a bad spot. I'm a Water Gun Lantern into a Dragon. But keep in mind, this season, Altaria now runs Sky Attack and Flamethrower, which means their energy is completely walled by Lantern, and with their rework to Dragon Breath, these Dragon Breaths are doing about the same damage as my Water Guns. Guzzlord does have a winning matchup into Scizor, so considering I had 2 better options into the Scizor, I didn't want to stay in and just concede the farm. Thunderbolt lands, picking up the knockout, in comes the Guzzlord, and Guzzlord should be in a winning position. The one thing I'm worried about is if they have X-Scissor for some reason, I could lose, so I end up shielding. Luckily, it is just a Night Slash, so this game is over. Scizor's problem in this matchup is it just gets absolutely destroyed by Brutal Swing. Brutal Swing is not known to be a particularly powerful attack neutrally, but it's a Shadow Scizor. It's extremely frail, and that means Brutal Swing is just about going to pick up the knockout. 1 Water Gun from Lantern takes the KO, and that's a good game. Hopping into game number 2, picking up a great lead, leading Lantern into Piloswine. Opponent safe switches into FURRET, and once again, Togekiss showing its value. FURRET lands the Swift, Togekiss does not mind, and now gets to threaten massive damage with the Aura Sphere. Aura Sphere into the FURRET does get no-shielded. FURRET can survive. FURRET is extremely bulky, and since they no-shielded, I'm going to no-shield as well and actually stop tapping. I want to try and get myself lower so that way I can limit the amount of farm the Piloswine gets. Piloswine has access to high horsepower, which would hit for massive super effective damage onto Lantern. So the less energy they can get from farming me down in the mid game, the better it's going to be for Lantern overall. So now, I'm probably going to get baited, but I will still be putting up shields because as long as I can keep the Lantern on the field, I can get so much value with these Water Guns. Another Surf launched at the Piloswine is going to be grabbing the final shield from the opponent, and now it's going to be a tough call to make. I think I always shield. They full send the high horsepower. That's a big call. In the back is going to be a Water Gun Quagsire. That's a pretty cool pick from my opponent. However, I do see a potential lose con for me. And that lose con is if I knock out the Quagsire with the Guzzlord, I can lose this game. And that's because, again, I could get farmed down. So my win con is to never throw my energy. This is going to force the Quagsire to knock me out, and then my Lantern is the one that gets the farm instead of the Piloswine. So in comes the Piloswine, but they're too far behind. I will get to take the knockout with the Surf. In comes Quagsire, we Water Gun down, and we're able to take the win. Core Breaker on the lead in the next match, leading Lantern into Credilli. I would say Credilli is probably the biggest problem Pokemon for this team, but so far, safe switching Guzzlord into a Credilli team has actually worked out very nicely for me, as most Credilli teams don't have a strong check to the Guzzlord in the back. Rock Tomb is going to connect, my opponent decides to send out Talonflame, and this is very good for me. Talonflame will get chipped by the Brutal Swing, Switch Clock will be up soon, and I can bank all of this energy and send in the Lantern. This very well could be Credilli double fire, and if that's the case, then my Guzzlord is extremely good here. Talonflame throws the fly first, there is the Brave Bird. Lantern does take a bit more damage than I was expecting, but I still do exit with some energy. So I will get to fire off this Surf. Surf won't knock out, but it will get my opponent pretty low. And now I have a choice to make. If it's double fire, I win anyway, but if it's a Scizor, then shielding this will actually be important. So I shield in case it is a Scizor, but it's going to be a Shadow Charizard in the back. An incredibly cool pick, but unfortunately, I just have too many moves loaded. I had a move banked on the Lantern. I have 2 moves banked on the Guzzlord, so I'm going to get the back-to-back brutal swings, and Guzzlord just putting in so much work into this team. This game, honestly, I don't even think I'm going to need the Togekiss because I can bring in the Lantern. I'm going to shield because if I don't have to reveal my third, then I won't. I do get that Water Gun down of the remaining 2 Pokemon to take the win. Pretty nice lead in the next match, Lantern into Galarian Moltres. Opponent safe switches into Shadow Drapion, and so far this is looking pretty good for me. I have a pretty solid response to Drapion and Guzzlord, but since with my moveset I'm actually walled, I decide to stay in and get some chip or a shield with the Surf. The Moltres doesn't really have anywhere to go into my team, so now that I have gotten some damage, I can send in the Guzzlord. Guzzlord, more than happy to tank the Crunch. Crunch, obviously a bit of a chance to debuff, but not super high. I now go for the Sludge Bomb, the harder hitting attack. Both are going to be resisted. Drapion able to hang on. Back in comes the Moltres. Moltres is going to get the fly on the charge attack priority to the Sludge Bomb, but I don't throw. Instead, I take the free Dragon Tail. I think that I can actually bank a ton of energy and then go for a Water Gun Snipe down with the Lantern. I think Guzzlord energy will be valuable. So I'm going to bank this energy. In comes the Lantern. No, they live on 1 HP and they get the Brave Bird. I'm just going to let it go though. Oh, that is a little bit unfortunate of a 1 HP survive. But I have tons of energy on Guzzlord, and now I get a 1 peck head start on Togekiss. My opponent waiting down the switch timer. What do they have in the back? It's Scizor. I just have to not let them catch. I throw immediately, and they catch. But I still think I can get to 2 brutal swings on the Guzzlord. So I switch in the Guzzlord, but I'm just short. This game should have always been a win, but unfortunately, it's operator error on my part. I thought it was one off the back-to-back brutal swings. I was not. That's why I wasn't too worried about a catch, but unfortunately, we will lose that game. We've got an opponent breaking out the spice in the next match. Lantern into Ledian. Ledian, these bug bites are absolutely shredding my Lantern, by the way. Look at my health bar. I'm already basically into the yellow. These bug bites are deleting me. Here, my opponent, unfortunately, will lose charge attack priority as Lantern. It doesn't have much attack, but it's able to win cap over that Ledian. Ledian probably going for a dynamic punch, and they will take the KO. In comes Togekiss. Togekiss just going to look for a 0 shield farm down, as Togekiss energy goes very, very far in this meta. So Togekiss gets a very nice energy head start in the back. It's a Thundershock Belly Bolt. Oh my goodness. Belly Bolt taking some pretty significant damage from the Aura Sphere. In the back is a Vigoroth. What is this doing here? And keep in mind, these are above 3,000 ELO battles, and we have a Vigoroth Ledian core. This trainer breaking out the Spice Cabinet. I'm not 100% sure if the Sludge Bomb was the right play. I was hoping the Sludge Bomb would let me Dragon Tail down, but it appears that it actually will not. So in hindsight, maybe a misplay on my part to not go for the double brutal swing. In comes Togekiss, out comes the Belly Bolt, but I'm able to win charge attack priority over the Belly Bolt. Aura Sphere gets shielded. Belly Bolt will be able to boost themselves up with the Parabolic Charge, but I can overfarm with the Guzzlord, but they undercharge, and that means I'm not going to be able to overfarm. They should be 1 off of their move, which means I cannot throw another Dragon Tail. I'm going to get outpaced. I'm forced to just throw here and hope that the Vigoroth is in 1 Dragon Tail range. This is what this game will come down to. Vigoroth survives the Dragon Tail. It's a simultaneous KO. You know what? I will take the tie. Hopping into the next match, picking up a slightly negative lead, leading Lantern into Clodsire. In my eyes, as Lantern, you should always try and play the zeros. Now, in this battle, I believe I don't play the zeros, and we find out why that's a bad idea. Because a lot of Clodsires like to bait, and if you end up shielding a Sludge Bomb, then they're going to outpace you and make it to the Earthquake. So now, I'm forced to either go down 2 shields or give up all my health and a shield. So I end up double shielding, and I will get a full farm down. My opponent now sends out my nemesis Meowscarada, but this time I came prepared. I have 2 Pokemon in the back that absolutely destroy Meowscarada. Meowscarada Frenzy Plant is going to do huge damage in the back. They have Shadow Charizard. And somehow, despite going down 2 shields, playing the initial part of the game terribly, we're going to get this win. That's because Togekiss completely shuts down Meowscarada. For the first time ever, team building this season, I have built a team that has an answer to Meowscarada. Meowscarada goes for the Night Slash. Night Slash does not take the knockout. Guzzlord barely hanging on, that 15 HP stat coming in clutch. And now I send in Togekiss. We get the peck down, and my nemesis has been defeated. Terrible lead in the next match, leading into Quagsire. I safe switch into the Togekiss, and out comes Piloswine. So far, we're in a really rough spot. Like, this alignment is absolutely terrible. The Piloswine being Shadow is uniquely bad, because if it's the regular, I believe I can typically make a third Aura Sphere, but because it's the Shadow, I cannot, and instead, I'm forced to go for the 1 shield water gun down with the Lantern. Lantern gets baited with an Icicle Spear. That's really not great. My opponent is able to save it and bring back out the Quagsire. At this point, I don't really see a win con in this match already. I haven't even seen the third, but this alignment is absolutely dreadful. I'm going to stay in with the Lantern because I'm expecting their final Pokemon is going to be good into the Lantern because that's the only reason you would ever really pivot out. So I'm going to get hit with the Stone Edge, and now it's time. Guzzlord hits the field. Guzzlord going to be no-shielding everything and just looking to try and farm down. My opponent pivots. They were actually very weak to the Talonflame in the back, so a very interesting pivot from my opponent there. They pivoted out bluffing strength, and that actually tricked me to stay in. But this Talonflame will be able to Brave Bird me. Brave Bird, and they have an Icicle Spear banked, so I cannot possibly win. So I'm just going to no-shield here. The game is over, but they fly, and I have a chance. I have a chance. I have to switch the moment they bring in the Piloswine, but they bring in the Quagsire. They farm me down on 1 HP, and they have a move on the Quagsire and a move on the Piloswine. With them hard pivoting mid-game, I read that they were strong into the Lantern in the back, so I sacrificed it. But as it turns out, they were so weak to Lantern in the back. So, an unfortunate series of events. Hopping into the next match, leading Lantern into Shadow Drifblim. I do survive a Shadow Ball in the Zeros. I'm anticipating they won't bait, so I will put up the shield just to get baited. Man, I am not on my A game today. But they safe switch Furret, and we know this team absolutely demolishes safe swap Furrets. Furret goes for the Swift, and Togekiss can do a pretty nice overfarm before looking to take the knockout with the Aura Sphere. I still do have quite a bit of energy available on the Lantern. Unfortunately, Furret is barely able to hang on. So Furret is going to make a last-second Swift. I get the farm down. Now the question is, can I survive a Shadow Astonish? And I do survive the Shadow Astonish. It's not by much, but Togekiss barely hangs on. I aggressively pivot into Lantern, and in the back is Credilli. So Credilli, again, a bit of a core breaker for this team, but I have all the energy that I stored on Lantern from earlier. So Lantern will just get to apply so much pressure to this Credilli. Credilli no shields. At this point, the game's already over. Unfortunate miscount from my opponent, misremembering where exactly my energy was on Lantern, allowing me to get to a third Surf. But whether they did that or not, I still had a full health Guzzlord, so the game at that point basically already felt over. Rock Tomb Undercharge means a quick switch into the Guzzlord, and I just have way too much of a health advantage, and I still have a shield to hide behind. Out comes Drifblim. I was a little bit worried my Dragon Tail wouldn't knock out there because I was -1 and Dragon Tail does a lot less damage, so I figured I may as well play it safe and just throw the move. Back in comes Credilli, applying yet another debuff. Just to guarantee the knockout, I'm going for the Sludge Bomb because I know the Sludge Bomb will KO. Brutal Swing, they may have still held on. So Sludge Bomb, even at -2, able to deliver us the win. We move to the next match, and we see a bit of a core breaker leading Lantern into Stunfisk. Now, Stunfisk would be so much worse for a Togekiss to see, so catching it on the lead with Lantern isn't the worst. At the very least, I'm able to consistently hit it for super effective damage, even though it has a dramatic pacing advantage. So I will fire off the Surf right before my opponent is able to get Mud Bomb number 2. The Surf is going to land, they're going to undertap, and I should barely survive here. and then I can try for a Water Gun down, but my opponent pivots out into Shadow Scizor, and I respond with Guzzlord. Guzzlord should win the 2s against Shadow Scizor normally, but with a small energy head start, I worry that Scizor may actually be able to take this, because Scizor gets to boost itself sooner, and that could be a problem. I think I can still get 2 though. No, I can't! That's just unrecoverable, and I will resign the match. Hopping into the final match, and the Core Breaker Credilli has returned once again. Guzzlord save switch answered by Pangoro, but this matchup is not nearly as bad as one might expect, because in this meta, Pangoro does not run close combat. Instead, Pangoro runs Rock Slide. Rock Slide allows Pangoro to be extremely competitive in matchups like against an Altaria, for example, but without close combat, it needs multiple charge attacks to take Guzzlord off the field. This means my Lantern gets the farm down, and I'm basically still full health. In comes Credilli, and Credilli throws instantly. Even just a little bit of damage I got from Water Guns is going to be extremely valuable, as now I bring out Togekiss. And typically, how Credilli is able to win this matchup is by debuffing Togekiss to the point where an Aura Sphere can't knock out. But if the Credilli wasn't full HP to start the matchup, this matchup gets substantially scarier for Credilli. Credilli is going to be debuffing. I have to watch for a catch. They switch in the back to something that's also weak to Aura Sphere. Hello, Diggersby. Diggersby will be taking super effective damage, but I'm debuffed. So I save energy and I pivot out into the Lantern. Surf is going to connect. My opponent now in trouble. They overfarm too much and get farmed down. I saw what they were going for. They were trying, if possible, to get themselves as low as possible, because if they end up throwing a Scorching Sands, which is what was needed to knock me out, then they're just giving farm to Togekiss, and then Togekiss would outpace the Credilli. So, unfortunately, it was kind of a lose-lose scenario for them, but even though we had a bit of a Core Breaker lead, Credilli honestly doesn't end up being too much of a problem for this team, and we're able to take the win. All in all, I didn't get to play a lot of games with this team because the queue times were very bad. I started my sets at 3059 ELO, which at the time of recording was number 3 in the world. I went positive with the team, but unfortunately ended up losing ELO because the down pairs were so severe. I think I got 8 matches over the course of 2 hours. So there are a few battles sprinkled in that were viewer battles just because I quite literally ran out of time to get enough footage for this video. But the team, it honestly felt like it was really strong. I felt in basically every game that I played in it, except for maybe one, I had win cons. And I think that's the sign of a good team in a meta. Obviously, metas adjust and they really adapt to what's being played over the first few days. So I don't know what the shelf life of this team is, but on day 1, this team did feel really consistent. And for all the teams that were safe switching Furret, Togekiss was there to just absolutely shut them down. And not only that, but exit with energy to threaten whatever they led with as well. So I think Togekiss day 1, a definite star of the show for me, as there's a lot of teams, whether it's relying on Diggersby, Altaria plus Mudslap Core, or Furret. There's a lot of teams that just do not respect Togekiss, and Togekiss is there to make them pay. Anyways, thank you guys so much for watching. If you enjoy watching content like this, please do consider leaving a like on the video and subscribe to the channel if you haven't. And a special thank you as always to our channel members here on YouTube. The support you guys provide is genuinely so appreciated. So thank you guys oh so very much. And until next time, I've been HomeSliceHenry.